We're on page 86, Coloring and La La. The last little bit that we read, Delphine was pretty upset with Cecile for changing her name, and she went into a story explaining how important names are and how she was so disappointed that Cecile hadn't given her a unique or original name, that she was really named after a dolphin, but that Vanetta had a fantastic name, and Cecile had a name picked out for Fern that was so good. When Big Pa said that she couldn't name Fern that, Cecile left. So that name was so important to her that she gave up her kids for it. So Delphine is having a hard time coming to terms with that. So on page 86, Coloring and La La. The next morning, Vanetta, Fern, clutching Miss Pattycake, and I left the green stucco house and went to the center, where we stood in line until the doors opened for breakfast because Cecile wouldn't cook for us in her kitchen. While we ate hot oatmeal and sliced bananas, a truck from a local store pulled up and dropped off loaves of bread and crates of orange juice. Within minutes, the smell of toasted bread filled the center, and small cartons of orange juice were placed on our trays. The young white guy who delivered the bread and orange juice knew the Panthers. They stayed a while and chatted with them. I had my eyes on them the whole time, waiting for something to happen. I felt silly once I realized all I was watching was talking and laughing. When Sister Pat came around with a basket full of toast, I grabbed 2 pieces, one for me and one for Fern. Vanetta, who was buddying up to one of the 3 sisters, could get her own toast. It wasn't at all the way the television showed militants. That's what they called the Black Panthers, militants, who from the newspaper wore angry fist wavers with their mouths wide open and their rifles ready for shooting. They never showed anyone like Sister Macumbu or Sister Pat passing out toast and teaching in classrooms. I started to think, this place is all right. I watched the white guys leave unharmed, laughing even. I couldn't wait to tell Big Ma all about it. Then I heard Crazy Kelvin say, "That's the least the racist dogs can do." And just like that, he spoiled what I thought I knew. When we entered the classroom, we found the chairs and tables had been pushed to one side of the room. In the middle of the floor were white posters covered with outlines of wavy writing. We stood on the edges of the room surrounding the posters, like we were on dry land and the posters were floating out to sea. Sister Macumbu motioned us in. "Sisters and brothers, find a poster to color in. You can work alone or you can work with a partner." I looked out to sea. The letters outlined in black marker said things like, "Justice for all power to all of the people. Remember Lil Bobby. Free Huey." I had seen Huey Newton on the evening news, wearing his black beret and using his big words. Big Ma called him the main trouble stirrer, because he was the leader of the Black Panthers. The only famous Bobby I knew was Bobby Kennedy. Even though Bobby Kennedy had been killed, I didn't think the Black Panthers wanted us to remember Bobby Kennedy. They were talking about some other Bobby, a little Bobby, and I wondered if he had been killed like Bobby Kennedy. Why else would they want us to remember him if he were still alive? Sister Macumbu said, "Yesterday we learned revolution means change, and that we can all be revolutionaries." As she spoke, we stepped carefully between the posters, choosing one and then plopping down next to it. Sister Pat passed around a bucket of magic markers and crayons. Part of me felt like repeating Vanetta's words, "We didn't come for the revolution, we came for breakfast." But part of me wanted to see what it was all about. That part reached into the bucket for a thick magic marker. Vanetta and Fern each took crayons. Fern took an extra crayon for Miss Pattycake. I decided on the Free Huey poster since I didn't know who Lil Bobby was. Fern and I squatted down by our poster. Next to Fern sat Miss Pattycake with her arms reaching out. I chose the right poster. Fern colors small and snail-like. There was no need to grab the sign with a lot of letters, since it would just be the 2 of us coloring. Instead of sticking with us, Vanetta ran over to the middle Ankton girl, that was their last name, Ankton, and began coloring with her and her younger sister. I couldn't say I was surprised. Then I heard the middle Ankton girl say, "What's wrong with your little sister?" Vanetta tried to act like she hadn't heard and kept coloring the P in power. "Why's she run around with her dolly?" Vanetta, who was loud and showy and crowy, had to swallow her words. "She likes it, that's all." Vanetta now sounded low and small, and it served her right. I watched Fern move her crayon in small black circles. I could hear her singing la 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 to herself. I recognized the tune. It was the la 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 part in a song that used to come on the radio. When Brenda and the Tabulations sang Dry Your Eyes, my sister and I imagined they sang about a mother who had to leave her children. It was the only real indulgence we allowed ourselves in missing having a mother. Brenda and the Tabulations. Vanetta, Fern, and I sang Dry Your Eyes whenever the disc jockey played it on WWRL. So I sang the la 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 part with Fern, making a nice wall around us to keep that laughing Yankton girl on the outside. We all have our la 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 song.
Santa, hurry up and make supper.
Okay, I will. Sorry, I had an interruption. Let's start that paragraph again. We all have our la 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 song, the thing we do when the world isn't singing a nice tune to us. We sing our own nice tune to drown out ugly. Fern and I colored and sang, but the middle Yankton girl was determined to break through our la 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 wall. She had her own song and made sure we heard it. Your sister is a baby, your sister is a baby. I expected Vanetta to do what we always do. Fight back, talk back, pick up her crown and scoot over near Fern and me. Vanetta sat in a small heap of herself, looking smaller and smaller, letting that Yankton girl sing, Your sister is a baby, merrily, merrily, merrily. I stopped filling in Free Huey, and I turned and said, Shut up, to Vanetta's friend. She stopped singing. That was all it took, and that made me even angrier at Vanetta. She could have done that much for her own sister. The oldest Yankton girl rose up from her Justice for All sign. She said to me, You can't tell my sister to shut up. I gave her a full-out neck roll. I just did. It didn't matter that she was almost as tall as I was. I could have been a 7th grader. It was too late to take anything back, even if I wanted to. Sister Macumba was right there and ended it before it grew into anything to stop. She reminded us we had greater causes to fight than to fight with each other. Sister Eunice, Sister Delphine, shake hands. We begrudgingly shook hands, then returned to our posters. I felt shame, but I wasn't about to wear it. I was still too mad at Vanetta to be thoroughly ashamed. On the way to Cecile's green stucco house, I said, You're supposed to take up for Fern. Yeah, Fern said. Vanetta said, I'm tired of taking up for Fern. Fern said, just to have something to say back, I'm tired of taking up for you. Vanetta said, You don't take up for me. Do too. Do not. Too. Not. I do too. Like when? When you broke that little blue teacup, I could have told. Big deal, Vanetta said. Then she added the Yankton girl's word to let us know who she sided with. Big deal, baby. Fern banged her fists at her side and was set to leap on Vanetta, but I grabbed her in mid-jump. Y'all just stop it. Fern was near tears. I'm going to tell. Who you going to tell, Cecile? She don't care about a blue teacup. Big Ma, Papa? They're miles and miles away, and we don't have enough dimes. Who you going to tell? I said, Shut up, Vanetta. And she shut up. That was all it took. I had planned for us to kill time playing in the park until Cecile would let us in the house, but playing in the park meant playing together. Vanetta and Fern weren't ready to play together. I had to keep my sisters apart, so instead we went to the library. Vanetta read her books at one table, and Fern and I read Henry and Risby at the next table. When we got to Cecile's, we put our things, including Miss Pattycake, away in our room. I asked Cecile for some money for dinner, and Fern and I went out to pick up chop suey from Ming's. Vanetta didn't want to go, she said, and that was fine with Fern and me. We came back from Mean Lady Ming's, who wasn't really so mean, but we had gotten used to calling her that. I kept the 2 dimes from the change to save up for our phone call. I was sure we'd need at least $1 in change. Cecile wouldn't miss 2 dimes. If she asked for them, I'd give them to her, although I didn't think she'd ask. We spread out the tablecloth on the floor and loaded up our plates. I said the blessing and we ate. Vanetta suddenly became chatty Cathy all through dinner. I figured she'd had enough of being apart from Fern and me, and was now glad we were all together. But it was too much chatty Cathy for Cecile, who told Vanetta to stop disturbing the silence, and that quiet was a good thing. To that, Vanetta started humming that song on the radio that goes, Silence is golden.